Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily DVAR Halacha. And here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Friday the 30th day of May. Here we go. First of all, a reminder that it's Rosh Chodesh. This is the first day of the month of Sivan. And of course, that means that we are just 6 days away from the holiday of Shavuos. That's what, the next 6 days where all the Jewish people arrived at Har Sinai on this date, and then they made preparations, and then there were 3 days of cordoning off the mountain, etc. And all that excitement begins right now on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, and we kind of relive it each and every year as we come back to that same spiritual moment. I want to take a moment again to tell you a Dvar Torah about Shavuos. Here it goes. You know that God went to all of the nations and He asked them, do you want to accept this Torah of mine? And they all asked what's written inside of it, and God, when He heard that they were asking what's written inside of it, He said, oh, attitude. Do you want to know what's written inside of it? So He told them a mitzvah that He knew would be very difficult for them to keep, that really ran against their nature, and then they said, oh, then we won't be able to keep it. And He did this for all the nations, except when He got to the Jewish people, they said famously, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do it and we will just hear. Now that alone is special enough, but I've heard that the Ger Rebbe once asked that it's kind of interesting how the Jewish people had no mitzvah that went directly against their nature, fully against their nature. There were nations that God asked and they were thieves by nature, so they said, oh, it's never going to work. There were nations that were murderers by nature, and they said, oh, it's never going to work. Now the Ger Rebbe asks, what is it in our Torah that perhaps is against our nature? And when we went against our nature and accepted the Torah, God just said, well, that's amazing. Is there such a mitzvah? And did that concept kind of happen with us too? And He answers that yes, it did. As a matter of fact, that happened right before the Torah was given, because just before the Torah was given, God added one more, and that said, you've got to put, and that's why I'm saying it today, you've got to put borders around the mountains. That began several days before Shavuos, and those borders around the mountains said, Yoshua could go till here. The Zakanim, the elders, could go to here. Moshe could go all the way up. The people have to stand back. Anyone who touches the mountain will die. That is a mitzvah. I'll need to explain this, but the Ger Rebbe says that that is a mitzvah that went against the nature of every Jew. The Jew, you see, if you tell him that's the Holy of Holies right there, but don't go in there or you'll die, that's something that works very strongly against the Jewish nation's nature. We are smart, we are curious, we are driven to holiness, and when we find out that holiness is there but we can't touch it, I was going to say drives us crazy. Maybe that's not exactly the right wording, but it's very difficult for us, just like it's difficult for some nations to not steal. And God wanted it that way. He said, there's a system here where a Yisrael only goes till here. A Levi gets to do this. A Kohen gets to do this. The high Kohen, the high priest, the Kohen Gadol gets to do this. And it's supposed to be that way. And everyone is supposed to comfortably stay within his boundary and say, right now I said Lashon Hara, I'm a person with tzaras, I need to stay here. Or right now I am a Bechor, I can just wash the hands of the Kohen, or something like that, or a Levi, or all these kinds of things just tell us to know our place. And for the great nation of Jews, it's kind of wonderful that we have difficulty knowing our place, but that's our test. That's our test. We each have to comfortably find the niche that God puts us in our Torah way of life and say, I belong here. The rabbi knows the answer to that question. I'm not certain. I shouldn't be a big shot and give an answer. This applies itself in so many different ways for a Jew to just know, I'm needed as a foot soldier here in this task for God. I won't necessarily be given the high task of being the leader of everybody. I'm second in command, I'm ninth in command, but wherever it is, we have to comfortably know that's where I belong in the triage of holiness of how God sets up the nation. It's tough for a Jew who is driven, is smart, is curious, and he's told, know your place. Get to the top of your station in life. Get to the top of your station in life, but know your station in life. Please think about this deeply. There's a lot there. Thanks for logging on. Have a good Chodesh. Log on again after Shabbos for more. Bye-bye.